If you want more proof on top of the massive mountain of evidence that already exists demonstrating that YouTube is fucking broken, you need to look no further than a new story that emanated from the BBC and was brought to my attention on the Reddits today. YouTube's easily abusable copyright claim system has been used to attempt to just straight up extort YouTube uploaders. And I mean literally straight up extort them. Now, we have seen YouTube's automated systems and copyright claims utilised in a number of spurious ways, but this is the first time I can remember where shady individuals have approached content creators and said words to the effect of, "Hey, that's a nice channel you've got there. Shame if something should happen to it. Now give me some fucking money." But this is what has happened to two YouTube uploaders that we know of, Kenzo and Obby Raids, known predominantly for playing Minecraft. They got messages demanding money as payment for dropping copyright claims levelled against their channels. Obby Raids and Kenzo were hit with copyright takedown strikes and were told that if they didn't pay up they would get a third strike, which, as we all know on YouTube, means that your channel could be terminated. Payment demands ranged from between $75 to $400, and they were told that they could send their payments via PayPal or Bitcoin, of course. But in an age of social media, both of them were able to take to Twitter and talk about this, and eventually there was enough traction for YouTube to take a look at it and put a stop to all of this silly nonsense. "Appreciate you bringing this to our attention," said Team YouTube on Twitter. "Both strikes are resolved and the videos reinstated. Upon review, these takedown notices were abusive. We have zero tolerance for the submission of fraudulent legal requests. So we also terminated the channels that submitted these." So the good news, at least, is that the would-be extorters scored an own goal and got themselves fucked over. But what happened here was actual extortion, and I think it should carry more of a punishment than just losing your bloody channel. Hopefully that does happen, because this is illegal activity right here. This is trying to, why am I trying to re-explain it? It's extortion! Obviously, this was an extreme example of fraudulent copyright claims, and it's a horrible story, but we've been talking on this channel about more than individual cases, more than things happening in a vacuum because things don't, and we're trying to look at sort of systemic reasons for things happening. And when it comes to YouTube and copyright claims, one has to absolutely look at the systemic causes. YouTube, in this case being the system, has taken an increasing hands-off approach when it comes to the enforcement and detection of copyright material on its site. Content ID scours and automatically flags anything that has so-called copyright content in it, regardless of the context, regardless of fair use, in many cases, regardless of whether or not the content was actually owned by whoever got to claim copyright. If you know a musician who works on the internet, there's a ruddy good chance you know someone who has had their own songs claimed by someone else on YouTube. We've had instances where people can take a video down if they don't like the criticism in that video. You know, we've seen many developers being too fragile, being too sensitive to criticism of their games, and deciding to go crying to YouTube and saying they infringed on our copyright. They got the video taken down, and they don't have to prove that there's actual infringement going on. They don't have to prove that they're doing it out of bitterness. And while in many of those cases the developer in question got humiliated and the video got reinstated, after a long waiting period, I should add, where the video's unavailable and therefore the uploader got financially fucked, ultimately there's no real repercussion for filing a fraudulent claim, for getting a video taken down for no good reason. YouTube's copyright system only punishes uploaders, and there's no punishment for claimants. It's a very one-sided, guilty until proven innocent system, and it's been open for abuse for years and years and years. While the extortion element makes this somewhat unique, the actual basics of what happened here is nothing new whatsoever. Regardless of whether or not YouTube stepped in, YouTube's system has allowed for fraudulent claims to be levelled against a channel, with the fraudulent claimer under the impression that there would be no repercussions whatsoever for what they did. Because in the past, there simply hasn't been. They went after smaller channels channels in the hopes that they could be bullied, that they could be scared off, that they could be, intimidated into handing money over, which again, we've seen from other claimants. It's usually smaller channels that get picked on because the fraudulent claimers think that they won't have enough power to fight back. These assumptions didn't happen in a vacuum. These assumptions happened in a system that allowed those assumptions to occur because of past instances, because of past performance, because YouTube's copyright system has taught us that you can say you own anything whether you do or not. In many cases, fucking anonymously. There are actual companies that exist that have no social media presence and yet are used to enforce the copyright. So you don't, as an uploader, you don't know who's actually claiming your content. You don't actually know whether it's the real rights holder or not. It all goes through this little cottage industry, essentially, of copyright claimants. Just these entities that exist only to tell YouTube that a video belongs to them. Whether or not it does, I don't even fucking know anymore. If anything, I'm surprised that this hasn't happened sooner or more frequently, because this is a system that encourages this sort of extortion. It encourages the belief that you can get away with this shit. Because, barring the request for money, which is the game changer here, barring the request for money, this shit has happened before. Everything else has happened before. Fraudulent claims, a smaller channel picked on. Bargaining for the claims to be lifted, this has all happened before. From digital homicide, removing my videos, to Richard Le Ruiner using the copyright system to teach critics a lesson, to that prick who made those stupid Cool Cat films and couldn't take it when people said they were shit, abusers on YouTube are basically routine. And while it's good that YouTube stepped in and made sure that money didn't change hands and that extorters didn't get away with their extorting, we still need to look at how this happened. And it happened because of YouTube. It happened because YouTube fosters an atmosphere where people do feel they can be this brazen. This is not to say that the actual dirty criminal doesn't deserve punishment and blame. Obviously they do. Utter scum. Fucking scum. And I hope the book gets thrown at them with enough force to cave their fucking face in. But YouTube is broken. Deeply broken on a fundamental level. And this is what happens when you've got nobody at the wheel, when you've got nobody actually keeping an eye on what goes on YouTube. You have to basically hope that they notice it on Twitter, which has happened so many times, whether it's a situation like this or something more straightforward, like the site going down, or it taking fucking 5 hours to upload a 10-minute video, which happens on the regular, and you don't find out that there's a problem with YouTube until other people on Twitter talk about having the same issues on YouTube. And then if you're lucky, if you're very lucky, YouTube support on Twitter might tweet a reply, not an announcement, might tweet a reply to an individual telling them that there is a problem so that we all get to know there's a problem. They do that whether the site breaks or whether they run a small experiment that changes people's thumbnails without telling them. Jesus fucking, there's no oversight, there's no communication, there's no sense that there's a captain steering the ship. So it's small fucking wonder, it's tiny fucking wonder that someone looked at all of this and thought, right, I can make some money by bullying someone here. YouTube's automated systems ensure that there is only benefit to bad actors and their targets get absolutely nothing on their side. All they can do is hope that YouTube notices their situation and steps in after it's already happened, after the fact. And in almost all past situations, there were simply no tangible repercussions outside of community backlash for the bad actors, for the people who issued fraudulent claims. You don't need to prove who you are, you don't need to prove how you own the copyright material, you can just issue these claims through dummy accounts, through these little weird entities with no proof of who they are. And while in many cases you can get your monetization back or you can get your video reinstated, there's literally nothing you can do to recoup any of your losses as a result of a video being removed. There's nothing nothing you can do within YouTube's system to push back against whoever it was that dicked you over. So unfortunately, I cannot say at all that I'm surprised this has happened. If anything, again, I'm shocked it didn't happen sooner. That I know about, who fucking knows, this could be happening all the time. And that is sad to say, it's absolutely disgusting that it could happen at all, but it is, unfortunately, not shocking. It should be shocking, it absolutely should be shocking, but again, you gotta look at the system and what that means, you know, what the system is doing that fosters an attitude that someone could get away with this, and that is all entirely on YouTube's shoulders.
We're not scared of you anymore, so you better quit bullying us!
Shoot! Dawn, Vivica, Fox, and Eric Estrella messed it up!